I'm going to talk about the GoodNotes app, which let me start this. I'll start this one sharing for now, which is kind of it's a lot like Notability. And I've used it like what I've got saying here. I've used it in class, I've used it in office hours, I've used it in grading. And I'm going to say it's a lot like Notability, having not really used Notability all that much. I've used this on the recommendation of people in the Regional Mathematical Association of America. They've told me that they've used this all the time for their grading, and it was great. And so having had a lot of stuff thrown at me right before the semester began, I just sort of ran with it and said, oh, you use it, tell me how you use it, and I'm going to run with it, and I'm not going to worry about learning other things that I don't know right now. And I suspect that you all might tell me that this is exactly how Notability works, and why did I pay the $8 to get this particular program? And that's fine. I won't be offended. So I'll show you what I do, and if you guys are curious, then I will show you more about how I do it. And that's sort of what I want to do. So in class, I use this kind of in the way that that Ron was showing, in that I use this to demonstrate things. I use it mostly in my calculus class, but other classes, but other things too. So I in my calculus class, I have the fortunate thing that the textbook that I have has a lot of these activities that have lots of white space around them. This is a PDF file that has lots of graphs and activities associated with it that I can write on with a pen. I can write on with the pen, and it's got a laser pointer that can look like this or look like this. And then I basically shine these things up in class and move them around and write on them in class. And that is almost all of what I do in class on the board, and to get the students working. And which is nice that the textbook happens to have this sort of feature accompanying it. And that's why I do it in this class more than other ones. I use it in office hours. I have this notebook here, which I haven't bothered to even give a name. It's got work that I do, and I share. If it's something that I'm working on with students and I'm the one that's writing stuff to clarify with students, then I will work on something and I can talk about something with the students. If it's something that the students are writing down, then they've got to take a snapshot of something, and then we have to work on some other way of communicating the paper. So I've got stuff going from all sorts of courses that back and forth. But really, the thing that I use this for the most is grading. And so I don't know, I can go through the whole process, but what I've got, if I go through and look at some of the stuff, I've got folders worth of student work that I've downloaded from Blackboard. And I go to, and I can look at student work. This is actual student work. I don't know how much I want to go on here, but I can look at stuff that I've downloaded from Blackboard, and then I click, or I can go into the student work and write on it just like I would a piece of paper, give them feedback, and send it back to the student. And if we're all interested, I can go through the process of what I have to do in order to get all of the student work in a folder here, and how I have to do in order to get it back to the student. But this has been the process I've been using this semester for grading
just to review, Ryan. So you've downloaded, you went on Blackboard, created the download file, downloaded that to Google Drive, and extracted it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that produces this nice folder. And so then you go in and write on every student's paper for homework 9.
Yep.
Okay, and now you want to put it back on Blackboard. There's no upload feature, is there?
I can grab one here.
Yeah.
I can grab one here. I want to grab one that I don't think is going to be too toxic here. Yeah, so I can, this one doesn't have much on it here.
Okay, so the purple check marks and the writing is all on GoodNotes.
That's mine. This is a pretty no nonsense homework. So I can grab and I can write on here,
Right.
and it's a multiple page PDF file that this person has turned in. And then when I'm done with this particular thing, what I do is I go up and up here, way at the top of the page, there's the sharing thing. And what I can do is export it as a PDF file. And what I've done is I've set up a Google folder that I've shared with every one of my students individually. So I can save this to my files. And then I look
To
at all
that
of my files.
student's folder, right.
So what it has popped it up automatically. But what I do is I can look at my Math 120 class, and then I can look in the returning folder. And then I have every student has a folder there. So I just click for the student for the folder. Now I have to remember which student by their ID, because that's the way it was downloaded off of Banner or off of Blackboard. But I can look and see the student's initials in the homework by the banner there, and I can tell that this was MEH, which I know is that student. And then I would click on save. I'm not going to, because I've already returned this homework to that student.
Right. And then you have then you have to go into Blackboard and enter the grade.
I do have to enter that separately. So I have to keep track of the grades that I've entered on a separate document, either on a physical piece of paper or on a separate document over here. And I have to enter those grades separately. So the downside is that the students, when I return the homeworks like this, the students don't get like an immediate notification that the homeworks have been returned this way. Right, they don't get a ding that there's something new in this Google folder for them, but then I just send out a blast that say, hey, the homeworks are ready, go check your folder, and they're all there. So it'd be nice if there was some sort of batch upload feature to Blackboard that you could.
Well, I remember the MAA thing, and I think they were saying that, is it Moodle that has the batch upload?
I think that's true, but I don't.
Yeah,
I've never.
I was very jealous of those instructors.
So you'll have to tell me if this is. I suspect that there's a. If this can, everything I did described here can probably be done in Notability. What I think what this probably lacks that Notability also has is the little the feature where you can add a little of audio clip. But right now the students don't have the, so perhaps next year, if the students really get into using the iPads, I might have to switch over to Notability to add the little audio tag to their homework. But right now the students aren't gonna be able to use that right now much anyway. But otherwise, it's got all the same tools with that work the same way that Notability would.
Yeah, so just as from a comparison, Notability and GoodNotes are probably the two most common note-taking apps on an iPad, or two most popular. I mean, there's a million out there. If you go into the App Store and start looking, there's a million. But these are some of the most popular ones, especially used educationally. And Ryan, you're absolutely right. I mean, they're probably 95% the same. And the voice feature is something that Notability has. I don't think GoodNotes has. I think they probably will have it eventually. I think they'll probably come out with it. The other big one is that GoodNotes, you used to be able to go into like a presentation mode, and it would actually look a little different. So what you'd see on your iPad is different than what would be shared on the screen for everyone else to see. And Notability didn't have that. And Notability just came out with that in one of their last updates. So, I mean, the two products kind of compete with themselves really closely over time. And I do think it comes down to whichever you prefer. When we looked through and did a comparison before we started the pilots with iPads last year, really the voice feature was what tipped us over to the Notability side of things. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm getting a few questions from people of like, this is amazing. I want to do what Ryan's doing. Can we do this Notability? Yes, we absolutely can. And I've heard a lot of faculty this semester saying that this exact thing is really what's changed their workflow on a day-to-day basis as far as grading and using their iPad and giving that handwritten feedback. So Kristen had a note in the chat there. She does something very similar. However, she does actually attach the files back into the Blackboard screen. There's a little paperclip icon there, so you kind of attach them back. It is a few more clicks than what Ryan just showed you for sure, because you got to put it somewhere else and then, you know, upload it in. But that is possible. And I've seen lots of people using this combination of Blackboard assignments and Google Drive folders and Notability kind of for the actual annotation. So this is great. Thank you so much for sharing.